So, my topic for today is about communication and globalization. So, what is communication and globalization? So, let me explain. Here are the objectives of communication and globalization. First one is characteristics of globalization, followed by advantages of globalization, and lastly, effects of globalization in language use and communication. So, next, what is communication? Usually people know that communication is the imparting or exchanging of information or news, but communication is an apparent answer to the painful divisions between self and other, private and public, and inner thought and outer world. Next one. What is globalization? Globalization is the word used to describe the growing interdependence of the world's economies, cultures, and population brought about by cross-border trade in goods and services, technology, and flows of investment, people, and information. Countries have built economic partnerships to facilitate these movements over many centuries. So first one, here are the characteristics of globalization. First one is liberalization. So what is liberalization? The freedom of the industrialist businessman to establish industries, trade, or commerce either in his country or abroad. Free exchange of capital, goods, service, and technologies between countries. Next one is free trade. Free trade between countries, absence of excessive governmental control over trade. Third one is globalization of economic activities. So, control of economic activities by domestic market and international market, coordination of national economy and world economy. Fourth one is connectivity. So, what is connectivity? Connectivity is localities being connected with the world by breaking national boundaries, forging of links between one society and another, and between one country and another through international transmission of knowledge, literature, technology, culture, and information. Next one is borderless globe. Breaking of national barriers and creation of interconnectedness, the ideal of borderless globe, articulated by Kenichi Omei. Next one is a composite process, integration of nation states across the world by common and economic, commercial, political, cultural, and technological ties, creation of a new world order with no national boundaries. Next one is a multi-dimensional process. Economically, it means opening up of national market, free trade and commerce among nations, and integration of national economies with the world economy. Politically, it means limited powers and functions of state, more rights and freedoms granted to the individual and empowerment of private sector. Culturally, it means exchange of cultural values between societies and between nations. And ideological, it means the spread of liberalization and capitalism. Next one is a top-down process. So what is a top-down process? Globalization originates from developed countries and the MCS, multinational corporation. Based in them, technologies, capital, products, and services come from them to developing countries. It is for developing countries to accept these things, adapt themselves to them, and to be influenced by them. As a result, the values and norms of development countries are gradually rooted in developing countries. But this view of globalization has been contested. Some scholars have argued that globalization tends to provoke backlash at the community, local, regional, and ethnic levels when the national government fails to resist or counter the invasion of globalization. So lastly, global state versus global civil society. in protest against the harmful effects of globalization on the vast multitude of people over the world. Particularly in developing countries, protest marches, demonstrations, and meetings have been organized in different countries. These protests have taken militant forms in the last decade. Protest groups have tried to disturb and paralyze the meetings of WTO or World Bank and IMF. As a result, a global civil society, though yet not fully developed, has come into being, but a global state is a distant dream. The UN and its affiliated organizations, which could have been the foundation of global state, have been weakened by many forces including globalization. Next one is advantages of globalization. They have very similar effects. They raise output in countries, raise productivity, create more jobs, raise wages, and lower prices of products in the world economy. Example of advantages of globalization. Cultures are also being spread without confining the political boundaries, like the Greek culture is being spread over Africa, Asia, and Europe, which can be seen in the cities having the name of Alexander in Africa, Turkey, and Egypt. The Silk Road, which was made to encourage trade between China and the countries around the Mediterranean Sea, will not only flourish the trade between these countries but at the same time also allow the exchange of culture, knowledge. Satellite television also helps in spreading the cultures globally, as the shows of the one country will also be broadcasted in many other countries of the world. Next one is effects of globalization in language use and communication. Globalization is readily increasing in today's world. This increase in globalization has many effects on language, both positive and negative. Without a language, people would lose their cultural identity. Languages are the essential medium in which the ability to communicate across the culture developments. So, as an example, the effect of globalization in language and communication is we know that we can talk it. Before having globalization, we only talk to Tagalog, Bisaya, Ilocano, Kapampangan, Bicolano, and many more. But because of globalization, we learn some other languages like Korean, Japanese, French, Dutch, Chinese, and many more. Because of globalization, we also communicate them by talking to English so that we can understand each other. So that's all. Thank you.